What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Alolan DataDex with me, TheOneIntegral. In our last episode we covered the poison fire types Silvally, and I asked you guys which Pokemon, or which normal type I suppose, you wanted to see today. It was a fight between Type Male and Silvally, an evolutionary fight, and Silvally came out on top, as you might expect I suppose. So that's who we'll be checking out today, but of course we have next episode's Pokemon to decide first, and it is a battle between two water type Goliaths. We have Wishy-Washy and we have Golisopod. So would you like to see how to use the schooling ability to your advantage, or would you like to see Golisopod and its very interesting ability and moves? Let me know down below by commenting either Wishy-Washy or Golisopod, and the one with most votes will be covered next episode. But for now, let's jump in and have a look at Silvally. It's number 773 in the National Pokédex, and it's a pure normal type by default, and the synthetic Pokemon. It is 7 foot 7 inches tall, or 2.4 meters tall, and weighs 221.6 pounds or 100.5 kilograms. Fun fact, that's lighter than Type Null, because of course it doesn't have the heavy helmet anymore. In terms of egg group, despite not being a legendary Pokemon, it is in the undiscovered egg group and is genderless, so you can't breed it at all. Evolution wise, as I've mentioned, it evolves from Type Null, and this is when high happiness, good friendship guys, that's when it evolves basically. So basic stats, they're all the same, they're all 95. That's it, it's an Arceus clone basically, so they're all 95, nothing amazingly high, but nothing low either, so it's an all-round good stat spread I suppose. In terms of its abilities, there is only one, which is Arceus System, which changes its type to match the memory disk it holds. Generally we won't be using this ability in this thing for Silvally because other items are better. You know, yes, okay, you can use it to get stab on another move, or use multi-type, but then you don't have a choice band or a leftovers or anything like that. So really, it's not the best ability you could have, but let's look at the typing, because as I mentioned, we're not going to use the Arceus System ability at all, so we will be normal type for the rest of this video I suppose. Or you could, swap out any of the items I look at later on for a different disc, and you have to just switch out the type for whatever effectiveness that is. But in terms of normal, doesn't resist anything, it's weak to fighting, it's immune to ghost, and it takes neutral from all the rest. So not an amazing typing, it's a pretty, I wouldn't even say standard type, because usually you resist at least 3 types and nothing hits. So it's a pretty bad type in overall in terms of normal, and it only gets stab on normal type moves, which aren't the best moves because they are resisted by a good few and are not super effective against anything. So really it's not an amazing typing, but it's better to keep that typing and have an item than change the typing and lose your item slots. So, what have we got in terms of moves for Silvally? Well, first up we have Iron Head at level 50, and this is learned by Type Null only, so you have to level Type Null to level 50 before you evolve it. It is possible to get this move and the next move, which is level 50 Crunch, which is learned by Silvally, in the same sort of spot I suppose. It should be at least, so if you level up Type Null to level 50, and then it evolves, so we'll learn Iron Head level 50, then it will evolve because it's a high happiness, high friendship, and then you'll learn Crunch after you evolve to Silvally. Hopefully, I haven't tested it myself, but it should work that way, but I'm not 100% sure, but it should work. Anyway, so those are 2 moves. You can use both base 80 power, steel and dark type moves, and obviously we'll look at how they can be used in the sets later on, but generally all round decent moves. Two have actually fun level moves. The first is a level 80 Double Edge, so this is a nice powerful stab for you. Yes, it's not super effective against anything, but it can still deal a nice big punch. 120 base damage. It is going to give you recoil however, so just something to watch out for really. And yeah, that's followed up by Parting Shot at level 85. This is an interesting move, because previously it was only learned by Pancham and Pangoro in Generation 6. Now Parting Shot, it's a status move. It lowers your opponent's attack and special attack, and then you switch out of battle. So it's basically like a U-turn, except instead of doing damage, it basically lowers the damage your opponent could do to whatever comes in. Assuming you're faster, of course, otherwise you would have taken damage before, but it's a pretty good move because it allows you to switch out, lower the attack and special attack of whatever Pokemon was in already, and then it's almost forcing a switch on the enemy Pokemon when you switch in with whatever you want, because they will be at a disadvantage to what you are. So if you sent in exactly the same Pokemon to what they had out, you would win because they had lowered stats, for example. So it's a pretty powerful move to have. In terms of TMs, first we have TM13 Ice Beam. We are looking at some special moves here, and of course Ice Beam does qualify for that, is a special move. Base 90 power, pretty decent. Followed up by TM27 Return, which is an alternative to Double Edge because of course it's a normal type again, get stab on it. Lower power, only 102, but there's no recoil, so that's your alternative there. Then we have TM35 Flamethrower, and followed up by TM43 Flame Charge. So a physical and a special move there. Of course, Flamethrower does more damage, but Flame Charge boosts your speed afterwards, and that's a good remedy for Silvally's. It's not a stellar speed stat, it's a fairly average speed stat, but it can be remedied by Flame Charge there. Then we have TM75 Sword Stance, pretty standard attacking move there to raise your attack, and can be used in some interesting ways. Then we have TM64 Explosion. Now this is your final normal stab option. This is for the case of you're not going to rely on normal stabs usually, but in the case of you are about to die, boom, explode, do a load of damage with your stab, and yeah, that's pretty much why you'd want to use that there. And one final move is another fire type move via Heart Scout, and that is Fire Fang. It's only 65 base power, so it's still slightly more than Flame Charge, but of course you didn't get the speed boost. So that's an option there, more power but no speed boost. So weigh up those options, guys. Those are the moves for Silvally. We're going to look at 3 sets for it, however. So the first one is going to be basically an all-out attacking set, pretty much just full power. The second one is going to be more of a setup set, sword stancey set, and the third one is going to be sort of a mixed set. So in terms of the first set we have, move-wise, Explosion, Double Edge, Parting Shot, and then Crunch, Iron Head or Fire Fang. Ability of course is RKS system, seeing all available. Nature can be Adamant or Jolly, it's up to you. And how that is Choice Band, followed with EVs of 252 in attack, 252 in speed, and then 4 in defense. So let's have a look at the moves first. Explosion is, as I mentioned just now, when you're close to death, boom, just do as much damage as you can because you're going to die anyway basically. Double Edge is your alternative normal type stab, because of course you don't want to use Explosion the first turn, so Double Edge is the option there. And a Choice Band and Double Edge, even though it's just a normal stab, it's pretty decent still. Parting Shot, even though it's a status move, still has a place on this set because you can switch in if you can predict the opponent's switch to something that will counter you, and then you can Parting Shot yourself. You'll switch out anyway, so it doesn't matter that you're banded into it because you've just switched out. So it's still plausible to run on this set. And then the final option, Crunch, Iron Head or Fire Fang. You could switch out Explosion for this if you don't want to have that sort of last ditch effort one there, or you could switch out Double Edge if you just want to go for coverage rather than stab moves. Of course you can also switch out Parting Shot if you want, but Parting Shot is really what makes this set possible, or not possible, but plausible, better than other sets. So you might want to think about keeping that, but you can really mix up the moves if you want there too. Adamant or Joy Nature depends on what you want. Adamant will be full power, but you'll be more likely to die. Or to outsped and die is what I mean. Or Jolly will allow you to be faster, but doing a bit less damage, so you have to rely on maybe, obviously Jolly Parting Shot would be nice because it means you're going to hopefully move before the enemy, so you won't take any damage, but of course if you're slower then you'll take damage, and then yeah, that sort of thing there. But yeah, generally it's just a general full out attacking set, full power, maximum attacking speed, pretty fast, Adamant Jolly, just decent, nothing really much to go into there. So we move on to the second set, which is a Sword Stance set as I mentioned, and of course the moveset will kick off with Sword Stance, then Double Edge, then Crunch, and then Flame Charge or Explosion. Ability is an RKS system once more. Nature is Jolly or Adamant again, but flips over. Held item is a Life Orb or possibly a Lumberry, it's up to you, we'll talk about that in a minute. And the EVs are same as before, so maximum attack and speed, and the last few trickled in defense there. So, Sword Stance is your main thing for this set. You go and you Sword Stance, and then you just, hopefully once or twice, and then you just start rolling through the opponent with lots of powerful moves. Still, Double Edge is sort of your main stab here, especially if you can run with Life Orb, you're going to die pretty quickly anyway. You could switch out for Return if you want less damage but more longevity, so that's one option there. But with Sword Stance, you want to go for 1-2 Sword Stance and then start wiping through the opponent, so it wouldn't be too much of an issue for you with recoil. Crunch is there because of course Double Edge can hit ghost types, so Crunch needs to be there really, it's the one we're going to use. And then the last choice, Flame Charge or Explosion. Explosion is there for the all-out last ditch boom, like +2, +4. Explosion will do a lot of damage to whatever it hits, but you have the option of running Flame Charge as well. And the idea is behind this is you Sword Stance, then you Flame Charge once, get speed boost, Flame Charge again, get speed boost, so you take out the opponent you're facing, and then you have +2 speed, +2 attack, and you've sort of patched up your speed at this point, and you can start going for some, basically sweeping. Of course, the opponent might not necessarily let you use Flame Charge to ramp your speed up, and you might have to go for Crunch first, but it's the option there. If you maybe go for Flame Charge first, then they think, just using a really shitty move, then you can Sword Stance, and then you can start wiping through the team, for example. So there's a few different options there. In terms of nature, Jolly, probably what you want to go for here, because you can get a +2 from the Sword Stance anyway, in terms of attack, so you can do that, and then your Jolly will hopefully outspeed most things, but you can also run Adamant if you want, just for the full power. Just be aware that you won't outspead as many things as my opponent Pokémon, so you have to be careful there. Life Orb or Lumberry, it's up to you. Life Orb gives you more power, but again, less longevity. So if you're running, I guess Double Edge combined with Life Orb is a pretty powerful set. If you're gonna sort of think about just spamming Double Edge anyway, you might as well run Life Orb because you're gonna die pretty quickly. But Lumberry is there as an option too in case someone tries to burn you. Because obviously, if you Swords Dance and then you get burnt, well, that's no good because you're then at default attack again, so you just wasted your turn. Whereas Lumberry will help heal that, and then you can go ahead and keep on going. So that's how you use that set. You go in your Swords Dance if you can. If you're running it, use Flame Charge to try and patch that speed up for some. Because obviously, yes, okay, you could Swords Dance and then you can Double Edge and take out the opponent, cool. But then they send in a really fast Pokemon. You're already like half health. That's it, really. You're gone. Whereas if you Flame Charge beforehand, you have a chance of outspeeding them first, and a chance to hopefully speed for the rest of the team. So that's the second set there. Moving then on to the last set, as I mentioned, is more of a mixed set. So in terms of moves, we have Double Edge or Return, Flamethrower, Ice Beam and Parting Shot again. RKS system is the ability. Nature is a naughty one or a naive one, it's up to you. Held item is Life Orb or Expert Belt, and then EVs are maximum attack and speed again. Last few in defense, or you could go for special attack here because we are using that as well. So this is really just to give you a bit more coverage, I suppose, and not have to rely on crunch all the time. Because we have Double Edge or Return, which is our main attacking move. You always want to be using this move, unless of course they resist it, in which case it will be a Steel type, Flamethrower, Rock type. You haven't really got anything for that, but there's no coverage for Silvally anyway, so that's just a wall for you. In terms of what else, resist normal type moves, I think that's it. I think I can remember off the top of my head. Well, Ghost types of course, but Flamethrower or Ice Beam will deal with both of those. So yeah, generally you want to use your normal type stab, but the other two options are there. And of course Parting Shot is there once again for that option to nullify the enemy and switch out yourself, similar to a U-turn, but not attacking, basically. Life Orb or Expert Belt in terms of the held item. The Life Orb gives you less longevity but more power, whereas Expert Belt doesn't affect your longevity because it's just a, doesn't sap health points like Life Orb, but it won't obviously. With your normal type stabs, they're not going to be super effective against anything, so Expert Belt will have no effect on those, but Flamethrower or Ice Beam, if you're focusing more on doing coverage, Expert Belt might be helpful there. Or of course you could run Leftovers here if you really wanted to, go for a slightly more bulky set to keep yourself alive for a bit longer, but it's probably not going to happen, really. So yeah, and in terms of the nature, Naughty or Naive, it's up to you. One, they're both going to reduce your special defense, one's going to increase attack, one's going to increase speed, so really it's whether you want to be faster and rely on outspeeding to get in the attacks, or be more hard hitting and rely on just taking your opponent out in 1 or 2 turns. It really depends on how you want to work it. But yeah, I suppose that's sort of it. How would you use the set? Well, the standard Life Orb set, you just go on and attack. If, as I mentioned earlier with Parting Shot, you can switch in and say, right, well they've got a Ghost type on their team, so I think they're going to switch into the Ghost type and then completely wall me with, having to use Flamethrower or Ice Beam, so I can just Parting Shot, they'll switch in, you Parting Shot, you switch out, boom, you have the roll, have the whatever, you would think, I don't know, off the top of my head, have the upper hand, you can then say, well, they brought in a Chandelure, I'm going to send in my Azumarill, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, that's how you might want to use Parting Shot in terms of this set as well. It's pretty decent, I would say, and of course you haven't got Choice Band, so you could attack one time and then Parting Shot your way out if you're faster, so there are certain ways to play it, but I'm going to leave it there for today. That's Silvally for you. Do not forget to vote for next episode's Pokemon. No, we have Wishy-Washy or Golisopod. Let me know down below which you want to see covered by simply commenting Wishy-Washy or Golisopod. But for now, this is going to be it for me for today, so I shall see you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.